Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abaim to everybody. Today, the 23rd day of Tammuz, corresponding to the 22nd day of July. Erev Shabbat Kodesh, Perashat Pinhas, Makam Saba. Today's class, graciously sponsored by Yaakov Cohen and family, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved father, Yehiel Lucian ben Miriam Cohen. Additionally, today's class, dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat, Mrs. Lily Safra, Leah, Badova Cohen, Vehana Alea Shalom. Additionally, today's class dedicated for the Refuah Shelema of Leah Bat Sara, Miriam Bat Basha, Vanessa Matilde, Bat Mabel Diana, among all of the Cholim of all of Am Israel. Before we go to talk about Perashat Pinhas, I'd like to spend a few moments to speak about the great Sephardic giant, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Today is the Hilulah of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and as we never come certain tzaddikim throughout the year, we try to learn about their life and about their teachings. Besides the fact that for many years, Baruch Hashem, we have a beautiful concept that's written in the holy books, that throughout the entire month of Elul, to learn the Sefer Tomer Devora, which we're not there yet. We have another month and a week to start the daily lesson, but at least we'll learn a couple of lines today. As we know, whenever there are yortzites or hilulot of tzaddikim, this is the opportunity that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us to connect with them, and they connect with us. So I have a sefer that I usually take with me when I go to Israel. It's a big book, but it's very important because not only has a lot of the Kivrei Tzaddikim, a lot of the locations of the Kevarim, but also gives us biographies to truly understand who was Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. So I'm going to speak based on what we have learned in the past, and then I will add a couple of historical and biographical facts. If you ever went to the cemetery of Sfat, and if you don't know what it is, let me know, I'll take you in person. Okay? There is no quarantine required now. Okay? So the Bet HaChaim in Sfat, it's a very old cemetery. Many centuries goes back. But I like to speak about a particular area, very famous area, because it's like a one-stop shop when you go to that area. You have Rabbeinu Hari, you have Rabbeinu Shlomo Levi Alkabetz, you have Rabbeinu Eliezer Askari, and you have Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. Rabbeinu Yosef Karo, Maram Bet Yosef, is a couple of steps down. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Now, let's talk about the names of the tzaddikim that I just mentioned. These names, they have one thing in common, and not because they were Sephardic or they live in Sfat, but they were the dream team of the Mekubalim. Actually, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero passed away, and after Rabbi Moshe Cordovero passed away, Rabbeinu Ha'ari became the leader of the Mekubalim in the city of Sfat. In the early days, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was a student of Rabbeinu Shlomo Levi Alkabetz and Rabbi Yosef Karo, and eventually Rabbi Moshe Cordovero becomes the teacher of these two great tzaddikim. There was one more giant among the dream team of these tzaddikim, and his name was Rabbeinu Moshe Al-Shich, the famous Al-Shich that is one of the foremost commentators of the Torah, was also part of the dream team. So close your eyes for a moment and think, what does it mean to live in their time? And I will tell you how far you have to go. You must go around to the mid-1500s. Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was born 1522. His name was Cordovero. Why was he called Cordovero? He was born in Israel, but he was a descendant of those that escaped the Inquisition back in 1492. So most likely his parents were immigrants from Spain. They escaped the Inquisition. They came to the city of Sfat, and that's where Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was born in the year 1522. Unfortunately, like it happened with a lot of the tzaddikim of that generation, he lived a very short life. He passed away in the year 1570. So how many years did he live? 48 years. Rabbeinu Hari lived less. Rabbeinu Hari passed away mid-30s. And don't worry, next week, no, the following week is the Yortzeit of Rabbeinu Hari, the 5th day of Av. So we have time to learn about Rabbeinu Hari. So it says as follows: Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was a direct descendant from those that emigrated to Israel from the Inquisitions of Spain. And according to what we know, many times Rabbi Moshe Cordovero had the zechut of Gilui Eliyahu. What does it mean of Gilui Eliyahu? That's not something that you buy in Amazon or you buy in eBay or in Etsy or in Shane, whatever websites you go to buy stuff. I'm human, so I know all about it, okay? I'm not an angel. Thank you. Okay? I don't really buy much, Baruch Hashem, but I know people that do. Anyways, so what does it mean, Gilui Eliyahu? Gilui Eliyahu means that a person, after reaching a certain spiritual level of godliness, has the merit that Eliyahu Navi comes to him. For example, the same thing happened to Rabbi Yosef Galimidi. He had a teacher called Magid Mesharim. Magid Mesharim was a malach that came to teach Torah to Rabbi Yosef Galimidi. Why? Because they superseded the greatness based on the intellectual mind. So they needed a higher level of spiritual growth, number one. Number two, his brother-in-law was Rabbi Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz. You know him well. Why? Because he's the composer of the Lecha Dodi. When we sing every Shabbat, Lecha Dodi Ligrat, Shamor Bezachor, Bedibor Echad, look at the letters, Shlomo Halevi. That was the brother-in-law of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. So you get the idea more or less who is who in this picture. There were Habrutot until he reached a point that Rabbi Moshe Cordovero took upon himself a unheard type of behavior. This is called Girushin. What's the meaning of the word Girushin? Divorce. Now, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero did not divorce his wife. So what kind of divorce are we talking about? Short answer, don't try this at home, because if you're not ready, it's a recipe for disaster. He separated himself from the physical world. Now, how do you do that? I don't know how to do that. But I'll tell you an example. And please, don't take it the wrong way, but I need to bring an example that is tangible. For example, we have breakfast, okay? What's our breakfast for today? I know, thank God, we sold out of bagels and food. William, bring matzot if you have, please. Just tell him to bring whatever he has. Kar, matzot, whatever. We have to, if he needs to open up the safe, get the code.
Like Marie Antoinette.
Right. Give them cake, right? Some of these. So imagine yourself, we have a nice breakfast. Let's talk about today's breakfast. Bagel, cheese, different options. Cream cheese, jelly, peanut butter. Thank you, William. You have matzot. Chazak ubaruch. He had matzot, okay? So imagine yourself, we enjoy this type of breakfast. I also enjoy. I'll be the first one to say, what a delicious breakfast. But I'm going to ask you a question now. Do we need to have peanut butter and jelly sandwich for breakfast, plus 4 options of cheeses? No. Continue eating, okay? Don't worry. Enjoy the breakfast. All you do, okay? Don't wait for me. I know, no, it's fine, it's fine. So you know what Rabino Moshe Cordovero used to do? I need a piece of bread, I need something to drink. Eating into restaurants, I'm not sure if in those days, going back 500 years ago, existed. For sure Uber Eats didn't exist, okay? But he will eat whatever his wife will prepare for him. He will not ask, I wish you would have made kusa jibin.
Everybody here eats what the wife makes.
Chazako Baruch. I know, because you're a good husband and you learn Torah and you listen to my classes. But how many husbands, many times when it comes to food, they say, that's it? Oh, I wish you would have made what you made the other day. This happens. But Baruch Hashem, we're talking about good, normal, down-to-earth people, that we are thankful. But imagine yourself that you live a spiritual lifestyle, that materialism doesn't talk to you. I don't know too many people in this world that materialism doesn't talk to them. Somebody asked me, why do I have an iPhone 10 and I don't have an iPhone 13? Because I'm trying to detach myself from the level 13. I'm happy with number 10. I'm not sure if I'm going to be happier with number 13, but I don't want to let that desperation or desire that people have, as you see many times, a new product from Apple comes, what people do, they line up, right, overnight to be from the first 100 people that will have this item in the world. You wait a week, you get it without staying up all night and paying probably a better price or some type of promotion. So what Rabino Moshe Cordovero teaches us a lesson, and I repeat what I said before, it doesn't mean that we're going to give up all the materialistic aspects of our life. But I think that the message that we learn from him is, for us, is to make sure to have a balance. A balance. And that's why Maimonides, the Rambam, writes, the middle of the road. Continues the biography of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and it says that he had two habrutot for two types of Torah learning. There is two aspects in the learning of Torah. One is called nigla, and one is called nistar. Nigla means the revealed aspects of Torah. Mishnah, Gemara, Halacha, etc. Nistar means the hidden aspects of Torah, which is not visibly seen to the common person. For example, Zohar, Kabbalah, and many Sefarim HaKedoshim of deeper aspects. So the Habruta for Gemara and Halacha was Rabbi Yosef Karo. The Habruta for Nistar, Kabbalistic aspect, was Rabbi Shlomo Levi Al-Kabetz, his brother-in-law. As I said before, in the beginning he was a student, and eventually he becomes a teacher. So it shows the spiritual growth of this great tzaddik. And it says that he had, because his parents apparently were immigrants and they escaped empty-handed, literally, just with their life, he lived a very precarious. Juan Carlos, chabod, more matzot, beautiful. These are fresh matzot, by the way, because there are people who like matzah all year long. So we buy new hames matzot. Enjoy it. We have cheese, we have peanut butter, we have a jelly, we have orange juice. Baruch Hashem, good promotion. Be'ezat Hashem. No, we'll increase the numbers, that's all.
Absolutely.
You know, we don't know. Nobody tells me, Rabbi, I'm coming, right? I don't want to have leftovers either.
Do they have in Tzfat few synagogues Sephardic? I'm asking because I'm going to be there.
Plenty.
Okay.
Plenty, don't worry about it. Anyways, so it goes here, then it says that Rabino Moshe Cordovero lived a very precarious life in his younger years. In other words, poverty was surrounding his house, regretfully. And yet, he says, if my main goal is to connect with Hashem, materialism is secondary in my life. Again, I don't know too many people who will say such a thing today in the 21st century. And if we go later on in history, in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, alav shalom, there was a group called Perushim. Perushim means isolated. Individuals that took upon themselves to isolate themselves from the luxury of this physical world, and they will settle for a simpler way of materialistic life, but a very lofty spiritual way of life. Again, they were not too many, and they did not last too long. But in those days, that was the tradition.
Like a coven?
Excuse me?
Like a coven. A coven. C-O-V-A-N-C. A kubo.
No. A convent? No, it wasn't a convent. No, it was a way of life. Anyways, it says clearly that Rabbeinu Ha'ari felt a certain spiritual attraction to Rabbi Moshe Cordovero until the passing of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. When Rabbi Moshe Cordovero passed away, Rabbeinu Ha'ari was appointed to be the leader. And how did that happen? If I remember something that we learned a year ago in the biography of Rabbeinu Ha'ari, it was that when Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was going to be buried, Rabbeinu Ha'ari says to some of the students, you don't see the pillar of fire driving the hearse of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero? No, we don't see anything. Okay, that was the Anan. Like the Jewish people have the cloud guiding the transferring or the traveling rather of the Jewish people. It was a heavenly message to where Rabbi Moshe Cordovero was going to be buried. Once he was buried there, it became a magnet for the composer of Sefer Haredim, Rabbi Eliezer Askari, buried next door to him. Next door means 1 feet. Rabbeinu Ha'ari right there, and Rabbeinu Shlomo Levi Alkabetz there. Rabbeinu Yosef Karo a couple of feet down, and Rabbeinu Moshe Al-Shir a couple of feet down. Now, with this, I like to do what I think we should do, is to learn about some of the writings. So one of the things that we're going to learn today is something very easy to say. It needs to become our goal and purpose in life, but not automatically done. Baruch אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. This is a very famous line from the Tomer Devora book that we're going to be learning Be'ezat Hashem during the month of Elul. But I like to concentrate only in the first line, not through the whole book, because it took us a month, almost, and that's by giving you a class daily, the daily reading. So he says one line, Ha'adam ra'ui sheidame lekono. That's it. 4 words in Hebrew. Now we're going to dissect the statement. He says, the person is suitable to emulate its creator. What does it mean? I'm going to open this up. Why does Rabbeinu Moshe Cordovero begins the first word of the book, Ha'adam? Why don't you say, Kol Ehad ve'ehad, every person, or Ha'ish? But the word says, Ha'adam. Why Adam? It's called Adam. Adam and Eve. No Adam and Steve.
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve. No, regretfully today is a problem. Today is a problem.
Big problem.
We're going down the drain, Rabotai, be ready. We are going down the drain emotionally and spiritually. Not emotionally, but spiritually. Very dangerous for mankind. The last time this happened, you know what happened, right? The flood, the Mabul. And now it's becoming official, with benefits, with tax returns, with survival benefits, social security benefits, licenses.
How can we correct that?
We need to do teshuvah ourselves. And we need to pray that the world doesn't go and collapses in that way. God
Why
forbid.
history repeats?
What?
Why
Because
history repeats?
because mankind failed. That's it.
It's the same.
Yes, just different technology. That's all. Same sins. Gilgulim, okay. So the question is, why Adam Harishon? Adam. It's called Adam. Most people will answer, Rabbi, what's the question? It's a pasuk in the Torah. You are from the Adama. Adama means what? Earth, the ground. So Adam means ground. That's the Peshat. You know why Adam, it's called Adam? No. Because Adam comes from the word ledamot. What's the meaning of ledamot? To emulate, to imitate. Dimion, in Hebrew it's called what? Dimion, imagine, imagination. What does it mean, imagination? That you put something in your mind. You see it, but it's not factual. It's theoretical. Imagine yourself, you are in Israel now. Okay, I close my eyes, I'm in front of the Kotel, but I'm here. I'm not there.
Is that what it means, that he created us in his
In the
image?
godly image. So this is the reason why Adam is called Adam. You know why we call Adam, including Gentiles and including men or women? Bnei Adam is collective. Is because part of our goal is to act like God. To act like a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The question is, what does it mean that I act like God? I'm a human. I'm barely a human. I'm a human with imperfections. Because that's what humans are. And our goal is to become better. So obviously, no one is saying that we're going to become gods. God forbid. Because it's impossible. But we're going to emulate or imitate some of God's fashion of running the world. What does that mean? So the footnote explains that there is an interesting pasuk in the Torah that says, "Lalechet bidrachav," or "Vehalachta bidrachav," to go on the ways of God. It's a pasuk in the Torah. So here is the question. Is this part of the commandments or a way of life? It's a debate. If this is a mandatory commandment, like eating kosher and saying Birkat Hamazon and putting on tefillin, or a way that a Jew must aim for. According to this answer, it's a way of life. It's not negotiable. I want to do the mitzvah, I don't want to do the mitzvah. You deal with the consequence. But I have no allowance to act in a way that is not according to the will of God. Now, let's clarify what this means exactly. So the foundation of this Sefer are the 13 attributes of mercy of God. And the book goes through stages, different areas where to work. The first message at the end of chapter 1 is Sablanut, patience, tolerance. It says to have patience is mandatory. It's not negotiable. The Rabbi Yosef says it beautifully. Sablanut, tolerance and patience is a mandatory requirement for life. Sometimes you need more tolerance, sometimes you need less tolerance. But tolerance, it's a mandatory requisite to live life. If it's in marriage, if it's in education, if it's in leadership, if it's in the rabbinate, if it's in the way you interact with people. And here is the question. From all of the attributes of godliness that God deals with us, okay, why does he select sablanut? The first one. Why not compassion? Compassion comes because you have tolerance. If you have no tolerance, you have no compassion. If you get angry right away, you have zero tolerance. And that's why anger, the way the great Nachmanides writes, is the worst enemy of the person. Now, let's talk about God's tolerance. I'm going to close the book because I like to talk about Pinhas for a few minutes. He's waiting eagerly all week, but we need to take care of him. But anyways, we'll take care of him during Shabbat as well. Don't worry about it. Just come back, that's all. Anyways, let's see the day of yesterday. Yesterday's day. I'm going to ask questions. I don't want answers. I'm going to do the questions and I'm going to do the answers. And you're going to do the listening. Thank you. I'm a comedian after hours, by the way. All right? Anyways, here, I'm performing now. How was your day yesterday? Was it perfect? Hopefully, yes. But let's be realistic. Every day has a different type of hiccup. Sometimes it happens in our business world. Sometimes it happens in our personal life. Sometimes it happens in our spiritual life. Okay? A hiccup in the life of spirituality. What does it mean to have a hiccup in spirituality? That the day didn't go the way it should have gone. Maybe a person, God forbid, ate without saying the blessings, or a person did not put on tefillin, or a person got angry a few times, or a person verbalized foul language to another person, or as we learned yesterday, even to ourselves. So let's be honest, that maybe yesterday, the spiritual day didn't go the way it should have gone. But yet, out of the tolerance of God, we woke up today. And we drive the same car today that we drove yesterday. And we have the same money in the account as we had yesterday. And we have the same comfort in our lifestyle as we had yesterday. Why? If yesterday wasn't such a good spiritual day, and life and actions have consequences, why do I get the same blessing today as of yesterday? Maybe my blessing the next day should be determined on my behavior of yesterday. But yet, Baruch Hashem, thank God, is not so. God says, I let you live, I let you keep your house, I let you keep your car, I let you to have the comfort that you have today, and I'll wait for you. Where does that come from? From the sablanut, from the tolerance that Hashem has. Because if God forbid that tolerance will not exist, our life will not be as good as it is. And I believe that everybody here lives a certain type of life that for sure there are people out there that have much less than what we have. You agree? Hazak u'barak. So that's the message of Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. That tolerance that God has towards me, my goal, my mission in life is to activate that tolerance towards everyone that comes my way. Let it call that everyone, obviously your wife, on top of the list. Because if she's not on top of the list, you will pay the price. You're not married, right? So we're giving you life lessons.
Yeah.
We're giving you, none of you are married yet, no? So we're giving you life lessons.
Priceless.
This is better than therapist. I'm giving it to you in advance.
So good.
You agree?
Better than therapy.
You see? I'm better than therapist. Of course, I don't charge. And I give you the Torah therapy. There is not better therapy. The truth is, Rabotai, I don't want to talk about therapists today, but the truth is that the Torah, if we are honest with ourselves and we follow what's written, the Torah gives us the ultimate therapeutic formula to live a meaningful life. That's our goal. Our goal is to live a meaningful life. So says Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, the same tolerance that God displays towards me as a person, I cannot be an egoist and keep it to myself. I need to share that tolerance with everyone that comes my way, starting with the wife, continuing with your children and the surrounding individuals. And guess what? The more tolerance we show others, the more anger diminishes. Tolerance, anger. But if I have zero tolerance, anger goes on top of the list. And that's why, if you look in the Nachmanides, what formula he gives to avoid anger. You remember? Hazak u'baruch.
Take a Prozac.
No. Taking a Prozac is a man-made solution that has side effects. And we're not encouraging unless his doctor prescribes. We need to be careful. We don't want to get anybody who says, oh, I listened to the rabbi's class, take a Prozac. The rabbi did not say take a Prozac, okay? Okay, just an echo, which will keep his identity hidden for security reasons, okay? But you know what the Nachmanides says? You want to calm yourself? Speak pleasantly. Benahat. Don't scream, don't yell, don't curse. Utilize a clean vocabulary. How often you should do this? Bechol עת ובכל adam. In every situation, to every person. I'm not saying that it's easy to do this, because some people have different type of personalities. Some people are explosive, God forbid, explode for no reason. And some people are very calm and very passive. But that's what Rabbi Moshe Cordovero says. You need our goal, our collective goal as humans is to act in a godly way. God performed kindness, we perform kindness. God is compassionate, I am compassionate. God takes care of the widows and the orphans and the destitutes and the needy, I'll do the same. God visits the sick, I visit the sick. God buries the dead, I bury the dead. Guy dresses the naked, I dresses the naked. Once we act in our minuscule human way, I can't give life. No one of us can give life. But one thing we can do, I can make sure that your life is good. And when I mean good, forget about the materialistic aspect. I don't manage that account. But the interactive between people. Because at the end of the day, if we believe for a moment that godliness is limited to spirituality, that's a huge mistake. Spirituality and interacting with people is what makes us. Ben Adam לחברו, Ben Adam למקום. Between mankind and God, and between mankind and humans. And that's why the Mishnah asks, how do I know if God loves me? How do I know if God loves me? You will say, God for sure loves you, right?
Right.
But I'm going to give you the answer of the Mishnah. God's love towards the person is dependent on two things. Number one, how people feel about this person. Ahub al haberiot. What people say about you. And the second one, there are four people that God doesn't like. Liars, drunk, anger, those who get angry easily, and those who make fun of others. These four, God says, Ka'asan, Shakran, Shikor, Lesan. Bullying is part of lesanut, of course. Bullying is part of mocking, of course. Today we use it, regretfully. Cyberbullying, social bullying, in-person bullying, sarcasm, all these words that bring pain to others. God says, you want to create a disaster in my world. And that's why anger goes on the same mode. Drunkenness, gamblers, God forbid. Somebody that gambles, it's not gambler jugador de cartas. It's pasula edut. It's not a kosher witness. Because he's making money by others losing. So you're benefiting from the hurt of others. That's a different topic, not today. But it's important to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes other people's pain and feeling towards the person in consideration. Now, let's talk about Pinhas. At least I gotta say something about Pinhas. What time is it? Okay, I have 3 minutes. Plenty. I can say plenty in 3 minutes.
I'm sure.
We asked a question the other day. Perashat Balak concludes with a very tragic incident. The incident of Peor, in which the Jewish people were seduced to do an idolatry that I'm embarrassed to explain to you how the idolatry was done. Everybody finished eating? Good. The idolatry of Peor was relieving yourself, number 2, in front of the idol.
In front of what?
Of the idol, of the statue. Pesed. Now, to all of us, this sounds unpleasant is not the word. Disgusting. Okay? And there is a whole Ben Ish Hai which if you come Shabbat afternoon, we'll talk about it. The introduction to Perashah Vayetze, explaining how every time we go to the bathroom, we make a tikkun of Baal Peor. Come tomorrow and you'll hear about it. I know you live far. Check the Ben Ish Hai introduction by Yetzeh, first year. Now, so Pinhas does what he does. He sees Zimri and this lady, and he gets rid of them, and we know the tragic end. This is how the Perashah finishes. Perashat Pinhas, right away, Pinhas ben Elazar ben Aharon Kohen gets anger when he saw the immorality of the Jewish people, and God gives him a covenant of peace. I ask you a question. Are we watching a movie? Are we watching a movie that at the end something crazy happens and then says to be continued next week?
Sequel.
The sequel, the drama. That's exactly what happened in this week's parasha. We see the tragedy, but we don't see the solution. Why? Why don't you put the tragedy next to the solution? This way, I'll finish the Perashat Balak that says, Vayakom Bil'am, Vayelech, Vayashov Linkomo, Vegam Balak, Halach Ledarko. Yani, finish the Perashat, Balak and Bil'am separated from each other, each one went home. And that would have been a happy ending to the Perashat. But the Perashat goes into drama mode, into a disaster mode. Not even drama, disaster, an embarrassment that the Jewish people sinned with this idolatry of relieving yourself. It doesn't make sense into any of us. Even today, I don't believe that there is such an idolatry that is so low in the way of how you do the service, which this is, by the way, the reason why the Jewish men involved in this, they did it. Because they said to themselves, this is not honoring the idol, this is denigrating the idol. You follow me? I'm denigrating the idol by relieving myself in front of it. So I'm denigrating. But unfortunately, they fail to remember that the sin of idolatry is not based on your feeling of denigration or understanding. It's based on the way that that idol is serviced. I'll tell you one more secret that the Ben Ish Hai says. That is the reason why all the openings of the human body face forward with one exception. Number two, opening in the private area of a person. That opening is facing down. For that reason. Come tomorrow, we'll give you the full version.
The ladies.
The
ladies.
Different biological way that God created them, and I don't want to go too much because we have a young audience, we have ladies watching. Don't worry about that. Bottom line, I'm talking about opening number 2, not opening number 1. Talking about opening number 2. That was the assumption of the Jewish people. But we need to understand what transpires here. Pinhas was a young fellow. He sees a male and a female, a great man and the daughter of Balak. Remember, Cosbi Batsur was actually the daughter of Balak. And as I said a while back, many years back, the target of this tragedy wasn't Zimri ben Salu, was Moshe Rabbeinu. She was looking for Moshe. to seduce Moshe and to cause Moshe Rabbeinu fail or fall spiritually. So she's walking around, and Zimri ben Salu says, "Can I help you?" "Yes, I'm looking for Moshe." "Who are you?" "I'm the daughter of Balak." "Why are you looking for Moshe?" "I'm bigger than Moshe." Zimri says, "I'm 250 years old, by the way. Wait. And I'm from the tribe of Shimon. Moshe is the tribe of Levi. So I'm older than Moshe at all levels." And we know the tragic end of the story. Zimri ben Salu, just for you to know, has 3 identities in the Torah. One was named Shaul ben Kena'anit. He was the son born from Shimon and Dinah. Remember the story of Dinah when she was violated by Shechem? Who was born from that violent act against her? Osnat, the future wife of Yosef HaSadik. She got pregnant from that violation. And Osnat was born. When Shimon came to rescue her, she refused to leave. She says, "Who is going to marry me? No one wants me. I was violated by a goy, by a Gentile. Nobody wants me." Shimon says, "I'll marry you." This was before the giving of the Torah. So it was very common. Shimon marries Dinah.
Sister.
Yes. And from this relationship, Shaul ben Kena'anit was born. Later on in the Torah, he's known as Shelumiel ben Suri Shaddai. And the third time in the Torah, he's known as Zimri ben Salu. So when was he born, Zimri ben Salu? Right before we came down to Egypt. How many years we were in Egypt? 210. How many years are we in the desert? 40. That's already 250. How old was Moshe Rabbeinu now? 120 almost. Almost. 118, 119, 117. No more than that.
Young guy.
Yes, compared to Zimri ben Salu. So he says to her, and we know the unfortunate, tragic event that happened. Pinhas comes and stops the plague by executing the sinners. What is the reaction of the Jewish people? Complain about Pinhas. Pinhas, you are cruel. What was the allegation against Pinhas? You act like your grandfather. Who was the grandfather of Pinhas? No, relax. Yitro.
Oh, Yitro.
From the mother's side, Yitro. And what they say to him, look at this fellow that his grandfather fattened calves for idolatry, and now he's executing people. He must follow the DNA of his grandfather Yitro that was involved in idolatry. This was the complaint against Pinhas. So what the Torah says, when you finish complaining, we'll talk. The parasha finished with the complaint, and now God comes and says, I'm going to do the talking now. I'm going to talk now. You are saying that Pinhas acted in a cruel manner, in an aggressive manner, because of his grandfather, Yitro. let's talk about the other grandfather. Who was the other grandfather? Pinhas ben Elazar ben Aharon Kohen. He was the grandson of Aharon. What was the DNA of Aharon? Shalom, peace. Hineni noten lo et beriti shalom. God says to all those of you that are complaining and are criticizing, I'm vouching for Pinhas. I'm vouching for Pinhas. And that's why Pinhas was given the covenant of peace and the covenant of Kohen. Why? Because Pinhas, in this week's parasha, was not a Kohen yet. He was a Levite. How? Short answer. Aharon was a Levite. Correct?
Correct.
Elazar was a Levite. Pinhas was a Levite. Aharon is promoted to a Kohen. Elazar is promoted to a Kohen. Pinhas remains a Levite. Only the new sons born to Elazar after he was appointed as the Kohen Gadol of the Jewish people upon the passing of his father, the sons will become Kohanim. That means that Pinhas, as of this moment, was a Levite. God says, I'm going to make you a Kohen. And that's why he says, Be'aitalol zaroa harab berit kehunat olam. Because here is another question. Can a Kohen that kills someone act as a Kohen? Yes or no? No. So now he killed someone. How do you promote him as a Kohen? Short answer. תחת אשר קינא לאלוקיו ויכפר על בני ישראל. You have sometimes in life two options. I'm going to use medical terms so we can relate to this. Sometimes in the world of medicine, they have to do something called a transplant or an amputation. God forbid, you should never have to experience this, but regretfully, in the medicine, in the world of medicine, this is something that happens. And sometimes, doctors give the patient a choice. We do nothing, and gangrene can develop, an infection can develop to the point of no return, or we do amputation, we remove the gangrene, we remove the infection, and you can live many more years without worries. Most people, what they say, amputation. That's what Pinhas did. I have a plague taking place now. I need to stop the flow of danger. Can you imagine 24,000 people dying in instants? We talk about COVID. COVID compared to Perashat Pinhas was much less dramatic. And we really don't even know the true numbers of COVID. Many numbers were given under COVID auspices for different types of incentives. That is not the time and place to talk about them. Okay? We leave it for some other time. We don't know the numbers. We know that regretfully many people died. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to comment on this, but the plague in Pinhas' time, can you imagine in the moment's times, 24,000 people are dying all around you. Pinhas needed to amputate. God says, instead of criticizing, why don't you look in the good? Our rabbis tell us that this parasha is a message of life. I can look at the same situation. I can look at it and I criticize. I look at it with the left eye, which is the negative aspect. I look at it, that's all you had today? Or saying, thank you so much. What a beautiful Sauda. This is Perashat Pinhas. Last week is about the dangers of negative commenting. And this week's Perashat is about positive thinking and complimenting. And looking at the cup half full instead of half empty. It's like you say to someone, I'm so happy you came to the synagogue today, for example, right? Or I can say, where were you all week long? I deliver the same message. One is in a positive way, I'm so happy to see you here, or the negative way. Last week's parasha, we got rid of the negative. This week's parasha, we welcome the positive. That's why the Torah created a separation. You can't mix positive and negative. I'll finish with the following scenario. Imagine yourself, you come home tonight from the synagogue, and your wife prepared a beautiful Shabbat table, and you say, very nice table, sweetheart, very nice, but...
Where's the food?
No, relax. But that three-letter word, okay, what's coming now? You understand? That's mixing negativity with positivity. You know what the Torah says? Expel negativity. Toxic environment, toxicity, negativity is a recipe for disaster. And I said this in the class in the past. I'm this type of person. If you are negative, I will stay away from you. If you have a toxic personality, I will keep my distance. I can't stand negativity. I can't stand toxicity. I need to have pleasant attitude, positive attitude, good way, because you achieve more with honey than with a whip. Okay, my good friends? There is much more to say, and he apologizes I went into overtime, but Pinhas was waiting for a whole week for this Devar Torah. So Be'ezrat Hashem will talk about Pinhas to discover really who were these 24,000 men that died, and if they come back, if they were here before. We'll discuss all this very nether tomorrow, because we also need to discuss why Zimri ben Salu acted in this way. He is one of the leaders of the Jewish people. So we need to reveal the true identity of Zimri ben Salu. I only gave you the ID card. Now we're going to go with Rabbeinu Hari tomorrow to the spiritual source of the soul of Zimri ben Salu. Come back tomorrow. Belineder, I apologize to the live audience of iTorah.com. I know many of you wish to be at the Safra Synagogue. You still make it. It's only 10 o'clock. Shabbat is 8 o'clock. You got 10 hours, including flight delay, to make it. Obviously, don't take a chance, Haz v'shalom, to fly Friday afternoon. It's dangerous. But, Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll discuss it some other time. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen.